Good evening to all the listeners out there. Welcome to the second part of the evolution of gaming in India. This is Sagar here from the GamePod Studios, and I have today Nishad, Vishwajit, and Ali. In the first section of this podcast, we took a walk down the memory lane and shared some nostalgic experiences of how gaming itself evolved in this country. And today, we want to discuss what lies ahead of us in gaming. Where does the current Indian gaming infrastructure or the ecosystem itself stands? Now, my take on this is that we will only have some more gaming companies provided India spends some serious thought on developing those skill sets in house.
I have a different viewpoint on the gaming courses. So I don't feel that just because there are no courses that people here are not interested in gaming. I think it comes from the investments. Uh, so if you have companies that are investing more into gaming and creating more jobs, I think people will be more interested in going into gaming industry, even if they are from different backgrounds. So you just have to look to the United States or Europe for, uh, eh, I mean, examples of this because they didn't always have gaming courses. Uh, all the people that are into gaming came from maybe a software engineering background or maybe a design background of uh, basically graphic design or animation. So all that evolved into making games and even if you think about the music, right? So music is inherently not a gaming thing. It's just a kind of an add-on. So anyone from the music industry who has studied music can come onto the games as a music composer and basically input his thoughts and his ideas into it. So gaming courses, of course, they kind of build the infrastructure further, but I feel the main investment has to come from companies who are ready to start uh, creating games here and for India or even for the global stage. But I feel whenever a local industry creates game for itself, it has a more involved approach.
Maybe there's also a little bit of stigma that's attached to gaming that people don't think that it's worthwhile. At least for a lot of orthodox minded people, where their parents think that gaming is a waste of time and there's no future if you devote more of your time and energy into it.
Yeah, it was actually considered as a waste of time, right? Like if you're gaming as a kid, also it is considered as a waste of time. But if you see today, like many of the youngsters have actually made careers in gaming, not exactly as a game developer maybe, but directly or indirectly related to gaming somewhere. So they are streaming or they are doing something which is closely related to this field.
I think we do have, talking about investments, I'm guessing there have been some very early news of players like Facebook and Amazon investing into a gaming app. And hopefully, yeah, things might take a turn from there. And people will realize that, it is something that you can kind of invest into. And there are some companies which exist in India as well, but obviously they're not developing your AAA games, but they are contributing to a larger firms outside over there and overseas, and probably that work is getting outsourced to these guys. But at the same time, I also want to talk about one important aspect about gaming, which is esports. And, how, that is something that I have seen a lot of my friends being interested about. That, I had this colleague who was, who was a writer during the day, and, and the entire night he would spend playing Dota. And he was part of this official Indian team which was playing Dota, and he actually used to get paid for that. So that was quite interesting, and I always was curious to know as to how do you guys make money out of this. And it was obviously through these e-sporting events that keep happening, the tournaments that keep happening, and the prize money is what eventually gets distributed. I'm not sure if you guys have come across any, e-sporting events and stories like that.
I just follow the
Have you?
scene online. I don't know anyone personally who's involved in it, but I follow the scene online, and I know a few Indian teams that are participated in games like Overwatch or even CS. So yeah, that's pretty much all my exposure to it. I know that they earn from tournaments, sponsorships, and even from so the people who are actually performing super well on the team, they become godlike figures in the esports community. And if they stream, thousands of people turn out to watch them, and that is also a source of revenue for them.
I think we should get used to it because in this year, I don't think we are seeing any of outdoor sports anyway. So I think we should start
Sagar, you,
taking
but
esports.
Sagar, you are a noob when it comes to gaming, so it's a long way
Yeah, I
for
I agree.
you.
I completely agree with it. Looking at the number of times the amount of time I've taken to just jump from one A to point A to point B in Destiny, I know, I know what you're saying.
It's okay. We all have to start somewhere.
Right, but that's what I mean. Do you? I mean, we all have been that non-gamer, in our life. But where do you think this non-gamer, he finds himself?
So, like you said, Sagar, the mobile gaming has boomed a lot, right, in the last few years, especially with the. I think the major reason is how accessible it is because everyone has a phone, and most of the games that everyone plays are free, and they also have a multiplayer aspect to it. So you can even play with your friends, which is if you play on consoles, especially, you have to pay for that sort of feature. So that is a big draw to it, and maybe that's a reason why people stick to it, and they are hesitant to explore, other areas. At least for me, what I've done, this is just related to myself, and I'm not biasing this idea on a general audience. But if I found something, I was also on the lookout for what's the next big thing or what's everyone else doing. Where's the next innovative thing happening? So that is always the sort of go-to shit for me when it comes to gaming. I always want to try out something new, and that's why I've played a lot of genres. I've stuck with a few, mostly with story-based games, but then I won't say that I haven't tried I haven't tried just something just because I didn't know how it would be for me. Just I guess the moral of the story is that you won't know what's good for what you want to do or what you want to play unless you try it out. And a game is something that you have to actually get your hands on it and actually play just to get the proper experience. It's not like a movie where you can just watch a trailer and say, "Oh, hey, maybe I'll like it or
So
I'll not
clock
like
in
it."
those serious hours.
Yeah, not even the serious hours. Just a few hours should be enough to make you like the game, right?
Yeah, that's
But
true.
you
That's
have
true.
to actually play it just to figure it out.
That in fact takes me to Ali, who is going to buy his first console generation of gaming
And he's
this
also
coming
going to
year.
buy a console for each of us.
Each of us.
On this podcast, exactly. And I want to know more from him in terms of where does, if he's planning to start his journey into gaming, what is he thinking about? How is he, what kind of games are interesting for him? Is he following any particular franchisee who should come out with a game? I just want to help you. I mean, I'm just kind of trying to visualize the journey that you would take, right? Like, let's say, uh, you like a lot of sports, right? You are in general a person who like a lot of. Correct, correct. So do you think that a lot of these gaming titles which are into sports, like let's say as we mentioned, the controversially famous FIFA, and there are a lot of other games as well, right? That belong to the sports genre. Do you think would you start off with that, or would you want to also experiment a lot with story-based gaming? I mean, and this also comes from the fact that what games you've played so far on your mobile devices.
Hmm. I think you and I would be going on and starting with games like FIFA.
Right.
Because being to outdoor sport, I'd be able to relate them more in a much better way, or something that would get me moving, not just sitting at the same place, something like VR consoles.
So you are saying you're interested in that technology as which will help you move.
Probably, yes.
I think yeah, that is an interesting perspective over there because a lot of people do look at gaming as a very uh, an activity which is just going to make you sit at one spot and even though there are you are applying a lot of your brain, but people still look down upon it in a way that it doesn't help you. It's not an activity which is ensuring that there is some kind of body movement, which is where PS started with their whole VR technology, right? That to cater to that audience who thinks that gaming can be a little more interactive and be a little more about movement. I think yeah, that is a nice perspective to think about. That maybe gaming needs to move in that direction where it's a lot more about movement as well.
So that's one part of it, but as far as personally, I feel gaming for me has changed a lot over the years. So initially, it was all about experimentation, trying out different stuff, trying out different games. But then once I found my sort of niche, I it became a little bit of a competitive thing for me where I wanted to get better at it. And right now, with having a regular working job, it has become a mode for me to unwind at the end of the day, or even on days when I'm not working. So I don't know. Personally, VR involves a lot of activity, and I had the PS Move on the PS3, and it was just something I played for probably a month of total game time considered of the entire time when I had my PS3. So personally, VR isn't something that is appealing to me. But yeah, for someone like Ali who likes to, you know, be a lot more physical, that's what she said. But maybe that's something that Ali likes or Ali can get into.
Again, that's what she said.
Right. So I think that actually kind of brings us to this thought that how gaming can be a lot more than we just know about it. And we kind of I mean these conversations are just for us to kind of share our thoughts in terms of understanding how gaming can be much more than what it looks like. And I think with the right kind of as we discussed during the entire uh, episode is that if we have the right kind of investments, if we have the right kind of uh, let's say marketing, if I have to also put it in that way, I think it can become a form of entertainment for a lot of us and a lot of the new generation that is right now, exploring the mobile world of gaming, and they also look at the other avenues. And hopefully, I think we should, uh, kind of have a environment which is where I'm sure we won't have parents, trying to tell us, hey, don't waste your time in gaming because but mama I'm actually gonna earn some money out of this. I think that would be a nice day to look at when we can tell this to our parents that hey, I'm gonna earn some money out of this, so don't tell me what to do.
And you can't actually blame them too, right? Because it's an expensive hobby to have, especially if you're playing on the very latest consoles or PC and playing the very latest games, which cost a lot and are bound to cost even more with the next gen coming up.
Right. And I think, yeah, that because that is obviously the technology part of things where, eventually how technology can optimize the cost of producing these high tech gaming platforms, right? And with time, I think we will come to know with PS5 and Xbox Series X, just around the corner. I think we will eventually find out how gaming is going to cost and how much of a uh, hole it's going to put in your pocket. And I think that's where, eventually we want to have these conversations about how the technology and we will have these specific conversations which are catering to these specific topics. So I think it was a fun conversation, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in today. And I think we'll come back with the next episode very soon. Once,
Before we move on, Sagar.
yeah.
So I just have a recent news item which I want to share. So basically, it's a proud moment for us because Soul Mortal, aka Naman Mathur, has actually become the first Indian to be nominated for esports awards.
Oh,
Oh,
He's in contention for Streamer of the Year. So we're looking at potentially more such Indian powerhouses shining on the global stage. And in that vein, in that spirit, let's play a small game. Okay, so this is two truths and a lie. Okay, so I'm going to present three news items to you. Okay, three facts, and I want you to tell me which one is the lie out of those three.
okay.
Okay, so the first one, Nintendo's main man Mario actually first appeared in the arcade game Donkey Kong, and he went by the name Jumpman. Okay, is the first one. Okay, and no cheating, no going on your computers and searching for it. You have to guess it. So second one is uh, Atari had actually so many unsold copies of ET the Extraterrestrial, which is considered one of the worst video games ever for those who don't know, that they actually buried them in the desert. Okay, that's the second one. The third one is the very first Halo game, which was Halo Combat Evolved. It's a first person shooter. It was originally supposed to be directed or basically orchestrated by James Cameron. Okay, so these are the three facts. First one is the actually appeared on Donkey Kong first before his own game. Second is Atari actually buried their copies of ET in the desert, and third is the Halo was supposed to be directed by James Cameron.
Who wants to go
say
first?
this
Sagar,
is
you wanna go?
Yeah, I want to go first. Is because I think even if the third one is a lie, I think that's a very, very lazy effort from Xbox guys to kind of build some more noise around Halo by adding James Cameron over there. So I'm gonna say that yeah, I think that's a lie.
Ali, you next.
I'm going to take a guess and go for the second one probably.
Okay, so I'm gonna go with the first just because I think Nishad would put the lie first.
Okay, are you ready?
Yep.
So
Okay, what do we get? What do we get if we get the
you don't
correct
get
one?
anything. We get a PS5.
Oh, that was the wrong. That backfired.
Ali, if you guess right, we get the PS5. If you guess it wrong, we still get the PS5.
That backfired very badly on me.
So the lie in all these three facts is the third one. So Sagar is right.
Oh damn! Nice.
Atari actually buried their unsold copy in the desert, and this was a rumor for a very long time until a documentary crew actually discovered them.
They weren't really big on the anti-littering. I think.
And Halo, the third one, it was never supposed to be directed by James Cameron, but the franchisee did end up being influenced by one of his movies, Aliens, according to the makers of the game.
So yeah, that's it, I guess. Then I'm sure we missed a lot of points, and there's still a lot still left to discuss, and maybe we'll do an episode 2 down the line. Who knows? But this probably sums it up well. Any last words? I mean, no one's gonna die, but still, for the podcast.
Yeah, I think we covered a lot of points and a lot of personal trivia stories, and there's still a lot more to explore and talk about. And I think in the follow-up episodes is what we will try to do and cover a lot more different topics. This was just a very a broader view of what gaming is, has been, and what it could be. And so, eventually we will have very dedicated episodes which are very topic centric and exploring the depths of those topics. So thank you so much, Nishad, Vishwajit, and Ali for doing this podcast.
Oh,
And thank you for all the listeners to tuning into GamePod Studios. And